Olá a todos vós, desta vez eu resolvi ler o meu livro Beyond the Universe, a parte em inglês, ou novamente daí. Vós estáis a reparar que não estou com fone porque eu tive alguns problemas na tentativa de gravar com o fone e o microfone. Então, este livro Beyond the Universe, que ainda irei fazer o unboxing, tem a versão em inglês, italiano e espanhol, deste livro Para Além do Universo. Este livro Para Além do Universo eu feito para participar do 6º Prêmio Químico de Literatura. Aí, como eu perdi, eu pude lançar a tradução, que aliás já estava esperando perder lá para poder ser lançado. Então, agora eu irei ler a parte em inglês do livro lá. Beyond the Universe. Description. This book contains the translation of my romance, Para Além do Universo, that was originally written in Portuguese. Here you can find the versions in English, Italian, and Spanish. The book talks about Olus and Alva and how their love goes beyond the universe. In English version, I use thou and ye to distinguish singular from plural more accurately. Normally I use you when I don't need to distinguish singular from plural, as in spirituality books. So I invite you to read the story and think about how powerful is true love. Beyond the universe, William Menezes phrase. About the book, have you ever wondered what the universe ruled by gods would look like? It is possible to have love between the gods. How far could be the strength of this love? Would it be possible to push the boundaries of the universe and love someone from another reality? What would the love look like? Beyond the Universe is a novel that others the times, in which one of the gods of the universe is enamored of the one of the gods of another universe, and his love is in return. Not a love passion passionate, but a pure and true love, enamored. So I invite you to follow me with me the story, which with the blessing concept of the gods and I'll tell you. Chapter 1. The Map of the Universe. The map of the universe is composed of the most diverse planets you can imagine. All very beautiful, there were some of the fairies, the dragons, the dinosaurs, alas. However, one of the planets drew a lot of attention. It was the planet of humans, the planet Racha. Such a universe is ruled by several gods living in a palace that is very close to planet Racha. The god dispense much attention to this planet because although humans seem similar to them physically, psychologically they are fragile and constantly need the help of the gods, either to give advice, consolation, a friendly word, etc. Each god has his own determined function and is coordinated and administered by the kingly god who is called Zaun, who has a daughter named Avla. Everything is in order in this universe. Despite some setbacks, beings are happy. Even humans receive the help of the gods so that no one complains about inhabiting this universe. Finally, the reason for the name of the universe as well for the planet of the humans is unknown even by the gods because it goes to a distant past. Chapter 2. The Mobile Universe. Like the other universe, Mobile is composed of the most diverse planets. There were some of the wizard unicorns. However, one of the planets drew a lot of attention was the planet Laurinia, inhabited by a race of beings called Laurians, who despite their somewhat distinct appearance, were psychologically equal to the humans of the planet Hacha, or Mocha universe. As in the other universe, it is ruled by several gods in a palace that is very close to the planet Laurinia. So the god dispense much help to such a planet, such as giving advice, consolation, in short. Each god had his own determined function, is coordinated and administered by the queen of the gods named Line, who has a son named Olus. Everything is in order in this universe, as well as being are happy. Do not complain. The reason for the name of the universe and the other planet of the Laurinos is unknown even by the gods because it goes back to a fact lost in the past. As you can perceive, this universe is not a parallel version of the previous one. On the contrary, it is quite distinct without having planets equivalent to those of the other, nor even the same race. The only things that have equivalence is the two universes are the palace of the gods and its function, which are somewhat the same for both universes. Chapter 3. The Palace of the Gods. As the palace of the gods is similar in both universes, portraying one of them, I will be portraying the other as well. It is a bright place with several chambers and rooms where the gods dwell, discuss, manage, and so depending on their respective universe. There are meeting rooms and assemblies of the gods. Each god has his living room as his individual workroom. The main function of the gods are King Queen, who is responsible for coordinating and administering the other gods. Pass on the instruction of the gods to the beings of the planets. Nature, take care of the nature of the planet. Health, maintain the balance between health and disease. Relationships, not in the loving sense, but in the sense of fraternity and dealing with other people with dignity. Peace, avoid the war between the people. Better a soul, direct souls to the destination appropriate to their condition, in addition to several others. However, the noblest function was for the Princess Ige, the son daughter of the Queen. This function was also the most difficult and laborious, but they are exercised with love, honor, and hard work. It was the function of counsel, consolation, and wisdom, which basically consists of counseling beings in the face of difficulties to make the right decision, presenting words of comfort when they were said, as well as giving inspiring words of wisdom. Detail. Even the gods received help from them, who were Noah the gods of the council in Mobda and the god of the council in Mobla. Another important detail is that in the palace there was the so-called throne room, which although the name was always closed because it was considered sacred, it was said to possess unknown mystical power. This fact was common to the two universes. Later you shall realize how important the throne room is in this story. Chapter 4. The gods of the council. In the mob the universe whose king of the gods was down, the role of the goddess of the council was up to his daughter, Avila. Avila exercised his duty with sympathy, joy, love, and always smiling. She was loved by all the gods and beings of the universe. She constantly went down to Racha to advise and comfort humans, and was not afraid to show her face to them, and also did not demand any kind of worship or retribution. She said she was performing her duty. One day, a human was in doubt whether he worked in a very profitable service but that he did not like, or in a little profitable but that he loved. And Avila appeared to him and answered, "Profitably is something relative. If thou workest in a service apparently profitable, but that thou do not likest, every moment thou spendest in it thou shalt exercise less hard, resonating its quality, and the same over time will become unprofitable. On the other hand, if thou workest in an unprofitable service, but thou likest, every moment thou spendest in it, thou shalt work harder and with love, so that thou shalt increasingly do the service with more quality and in less time, so the people enjoy thy service, make the same with time very profitable. I, for example, love my role as gods of the council, which I exercise, and people value my person. So, Loa, that was the name of the human, go and do the work thou likest, and thou shalt see that there is no reward greater than the satisfaction of exercising the craft with love. After that, Loa says, I'm very grateful for thy advice, Avila. Thou really art a very special being. Avila thinks and returned to the palace. The other day, the god of the past home called her to the following doubt: how to pass on destruction to all beings on each planet? Avila replied, simple. Pass them on in an assembly, with the representatives of each people on each of the planets, so that the representatives pass on to the rest of the people to which they represent. So thou shalt pass on teachings once to each planet, and the representatives will spread the teaching on their planets. So Horus, the god of the past home, thanks Avila and returns to the choir. So Horus, the god of the past home, thanks Avila and returns to this choir. However, there's a being in this universe who cannot enjoy the privilege of being counseled by the gods of the council. It is Avila herself who cannot counsel herself. But neither the gods nor the beings realize that she also needs in some moment someone to help her. Avila also comforts mothers when they lose their children, or children when they lose their mothers, or even friends, fathers, relatives in general, etc. In a way, there's a lot of demand for her, who are no point to start. On the contrary, she loves what she does. Yes, she has a curiosity and burning desire to know what is in the throne room, and what her unknown mystical power will be. But there was no other god of the council in her universe, so she will have to decide for herself what to do. As she had much more demand than the other gods, she enjoyed a day of rest to relax, meditate, and connect with her inner peace. That day was called by her Lamak, or day of contemplation. Such a day is also very relevant in the story. Chapter 5. The God of the Council. In the Mobla universe, whose queen of the gods was lying, the role of the god of the council was up to her son, Horus. Horus, always smiling, exercised his duty with love, joy, and sympathy. He was loved by all the gods and beings of his universe. He went constantly to Laurina to advise and console the Laurinos. He was not afraid to make himself known to them, as well as did not require any kind of worship or retribution. For his joy was performing his duty. One day a Laurina, in the midst of anger, was in doubt to whether he sacrificed his animal, which was his only companion in life, despite being an animal destined for Laurino's feeding. Loa, that was the name, that is Laurino's name, had only this animal as a companion and friend for several years, and always appeared to him and said, "This animal is thy only companion, is with thee for several years. Live thy moments of joy, and also thy sad moments. If thou sacrifice him, thou shalt satiate thy hunger today, but tomorrow thou shalt be hungry again. Thy animal friend shall no longer exist. Beyond hunger, you shall feel solitude. Trust in the divine providence, for the divinity responsible for the justice will help thee if thou makes the right decision." And Loa replies, "I am very grateful for thy advice, Horus. Thou really art a very special being." Horus thanked and returned to the palace. The other day, the gods of the peace called him with the following doubt: how to convince the beings to avoid unnecessary wars. Horus replied, simple. Tell the beings for each one to treat others as they want them to treat them. So no one will want to attack first because they will not want to be attacked. So without someone attacking first, there will be no wars. So Laura, the god of the peace, thanks the Olus and returns to his quarter. Olus has a dream for his life, to meet someone like him who knew how to understand, counsel, comfort, and give words of wisdom. Deep in his heart, he desired to know what he defined as the gods of the council, a feminine version of himself, or rather a girl with function and personality similar to his own. Olus knew the whole universe and knew that such a person did not exist in it. What he did know was just the throne room, because no one knew that. Olus' duty was also include comforting parents who lose their children, and vice versa. In addition to the loss of family friends, alas, giving the words of wisdom, he also comforted and counseled the soul who were with the god burial soul. Always enjoy a day or rest to meditate, relax, and connect with the inner peace. He called Damak or day or inner peace. Damak's day coincided with Lamak's day. Coincided. Chapter 6 The Throne Room. On Lamak's day, Avila decides to enter the throne room, venturing into the unknown. Unable to be advised, decides to follow her instincts. At the same time, on Damak's day, Olus had the same idea, with the caveat that Avila is more determined, while Olus seeks answers. As they enter the respective throne rooms, the council gods see a beautiful resplendent room, but no throne, just a discreet and luminous little door. White Olus is a little disappointed with what he saw, and dare not look at what was behind the door. Avila in her universe opens the door and crosses it. Olus sees the door open, and strong light takes over the room, while he sees a girl, Avila, who says, "Strange, I walk through the door in the throne room, but I see the same thing as before I went through it." After this, she notes the presence of Olus and asks, "Who art thou? And what art thou doing in the throne room?" Olus replies, "I am Olus, god of the council, son of the queen line. It is strange that thou don't know me, because everyone knows me in the universe." Avila finds it strange, says, "Very nice to meet thee, Olus. I am Avila, god of the council, daughter of the king's owl. It is strange that I don't know me, because everyone knows me in the universe." Olus understands what happens and is glad to have found the girl he so longed for and thought it was impossible. So for the girl to realize what he perceived, he purposely asked the following question. "So, Avila, what universe do thou think we are in?" Avila, without understanding yet what happened, respond, "In the Mobile universe, isn't?" Olus replied, "No, we're in the Mobile universe. This door in the throne room must be the connection between our two universes. This must be the mystical power of the throne room that, according to thee, is the same in thy universe." Avila now understands everything. Avila now understanding everything, asks the god of the council for advice. "Now, what am I supposed to do?" Olus says, "Come to my chamber, we'll think it all together. Today is my Dama, free day. We can think without being disturbed." Avila thanks and says, "Thou really art the god of the council. I long for someone to advise me as much as I advise others." So the two quietly go to the Olus chamber, and each shelves himself in his universe. The two conclude that the universes are not equivalent but complementary, because the only thing similar is the palace of the gods and the throne room. In fact, Ava does not notice significant difference in the palace of Mobile to that of Mobile. Olus leads Avila to Laurinia, while remaining invisible to the inhabitants. Avila likes Laurinia, and when they return to the Olus chamber, they spend the rest of the day discussing formal counsel, comfort, and wisdom, counseling each other. Without realizing, they fall in love, so they declare themselves and agree to be engaged to promise, that is, to consecrate their life for each other and for the true love. They are not passionate because their love is not passion, but in love, because they are soulmates and can perceive the feelings of the other, are not two versions of the same person, but two people made for each other. And as engaged to promise, they decide to pass all Damak together, and as this Avila passed through Mobile, the next all will pass through Mobile. Avila will cross the door again, and Olus will be waiting for her, and the two will cross together, because Olus was afraid to cross the door alone. So before the end of the day, Olus leaves Avila in the throne room again, and after Avila crosses the door, Olus returns to her chambers, and Avila, already in Mobile, returns to hers, and the two wait for the next day off. Chapter 7 The Evolution of the Gods of the Council. After this meeting, the two gods of the council evolved, both in wisdom, counsel, and consolation. There was considered that Damak propitiated the evolution of the gods, and was granted a day of rest also to the other gods alternately, but that neither of the gods had a day of rest in the Damak of the gods of the council. They came to be much more appreciated and venerated by other gods, each in their universe. In Laurinia, wonders of Olus were told, although he did not want veneration. In Ratia, something similar happened with Avila. But the ones who really venerated them expressly were the other gods. If they'd done it before, now they do even more. Council was getting better and wiser, even in complex problems. The consolation was more heated, even in the deep sorrows. And so it was the week until the order of Lamech. Chapter 8. Alus goes to Malta. When arrived the day mark, the Lamech, Avila crossed the door and see Alus in the throne room, and the two go through the door. Alus see that the throne room of Malta is the equal as Mobile's. Avila takes Alus to her chamber and does the same as they did in the universe of Alus, continue to discuss and exchange window, comfort, and counsel. And Avila takes Alus to Racha, while remaining invisible to inhabitants. Alus likes Racha and says, despite the distinct appearance, psychologically the humans of Racha are equal to Laurina Laurinus. After returning to the chamber of Avila, they continue to exchange knowledge mutually and get to know each other. They are increasingly in love. They are soulmates practically with personality and equal function. Only one function always distinguishes them. Always, in addition to counseling the living, also advise the soul who are in the divinity with the role of bearer of soul, a fact considered impressed by Avila. Not that she was unwilling to perform such a function, or that there was a prohibition or any impediment. She did not function in such role because no soul had called her. Always explained that at first he also did not exercise it, began to exercise after the death of Laurina, that in a life great treasury his advice, to the point of spreading to souls, something that the bearer of soul not only approved but encouraged, as it somehow facilitated his work. Thus every disoriented soul, the God-bearer of soul tells the story of the soul, and I am called to guide it. The two spend the rest of Lamech together, and as always combine the next meeting, this time in Mola. Chapter 9. Aira Lamech Encounters. Thus they spend a year on the secret visit, until one day, in Mobla, the gods perceive the presence of Avila and give her divinity. They knew she was a goddess. It happens that only Alus and his mother, the queen, knew all the gods, so they took Avila by one of the deities of the palace of Mobla. And Alus said to them, this is Avila, we're engaged to promise. We have been together for a year. She is the reason for my evolution as god of the council. And the gods answered, thou only seest her in thy Damak? And Alus said, yes, only. And they said to Avila, thou canst come meet thy fiancé any time, any day, and accompany him to his work. And he can help thee in thy road wherever he is. Also in Avila happy and come to find himself in plain sight, and in several days in Avila helps him in his work. Similar fact happens in Mabda, in which the gods tell the Oculus that he can meet his bride whenever he wants, any day, or accompany her in his work, giving her permission to help him in his work whatever it is. Thus Olu and Avila began to exercise together the function of the gods or the council in the two universes, a fact corroborated by the possibility of listening to the call of each universe even though they were in the other. They were grateful for such aptitude, but they could not explain the reason why this was possible. Thus giving to the success or radiant happiness of the gods of the council, who were so called for acting together in harmony, both Queen Lai and King Zion wished to meet respectfully the partner of their children, and the kings craved the best opportunity. Chapter 10. The secret of the gods of the council is revealed to the king. Queen Lai was the first to get the opportunity to speak to Alus and Avila together. And Alus said, Mother Lai, this is Avila, my bride of promise. We have been together for over a year, and not long ago we began to help each other in our function. And Lai says to Avila, very pleased, Avila, I am glad for both of ye. Yet ye cannot conceal your secret to me. Only Alus and I know all the gods, so it is easy to pass by a goddess of Mobla. Yet I didn't knew thee until now. So thou art not a goddess of Mobla, thou art the gods of the council or another universe. That's why ye are so connected and spend true love between ye. Ye are soulmates, and that makes me think that the gods should be in pairs like the two of ye. Tell the king of thy universe that I approve your union. Even though I want to know him in his universe, it will be risky for both of ye, for I don't know what the other gods will think if they found out your secret. Avila then tells Lion everything she knows about the connection and the door to the throne room, and Lion keeps everything with her, reflecting well on what she heard. After a while, it was King Zion's turn to meet Alus, and amazing he spoke almost the same as Lion. After this, Alus and Avila began to think that the gods will be in pairs, and each function in the universe will be exercised by a god who will be the soulmate of his correspondence in the other universe, so the two universes will be complementary. However, the two kept the conclusion between them. Chapter 11. Avila consults the soul of Mobla. As Alus and Avila worked together with the approval of the gods, including the parents, when Alus was called again to consult a soul, the bearer of soul, Avila went along with him. And when they arrived, the soul asked Avila, Who art thou? And Avila replies, I am Avila, the gods of the council, and the bride of the promise of Alus. Now we carry out our functions together. Then the soul replies, Okay, Avila, I am going to ask thee for thy advice, so I will know how valuable thy advice is. Avila replies, All right, thou canst tell me thy problem. The soul says, I am Laurino, and I died while I was going to get a medicine for my sick son. He's still young, and I wish he lived a long time, but he needs the medicine, and even though I had a lot of discussion with him and he thinks I don't love him, I did everything to get him the medicine, but I die on the way. Abla replies, thy son Williams is just a reflection of him thinking thou dost not love him, and thy arguments with him. I can feel that he is already well, and not only loves thee, but knows that thou loves him, and that thou diest seeking the medicine for him. I have the power to show thee. Watch it. The people who bear thee conclude that what I told thee. Thou wert buried like a hero, and the medicine came to thy son, who no longer sees thee as a bad father, but a hero in his life. Right now he's praying for thee and thy soul, and the soul can see and hear his son pray. May my father's soul have peace and rest, and know that he will always be my hero, and I'll never forget what he did for me. And the soul responded to Avila, thou really art the gods of the council, not only have thee counseled me, but also gave comfort in this word of wisdom. Avila thanks and says, thank thee very much. It's the first time I counsel a soul. So far, only the living have called him. That is, I have counseled even the gods, but not a soul. Avila's popularity among souls grew after this event, not only in Mobda, but also in Mobda. And strange as may seem, Mobda's soul knew of Avila's counsel in Mobda, which led to the gods Bearer's soul conclude that the world of soul of the two universes was the same. So the two gods Bearer's soul gathered in the world of souls and report what they discovered to Avila and Olus, who were called there for this. Thus, Olus and Avila conclude that Mobda and Mobla were one universe, and that for some reason it had been divided, and the mystery of the throne room was so no one would find out about it. So they told their findings to their respective parents, which confirmed their suspicion. Chapter 12. The encounter of the gods in the world of soul. As the world of soul was the one for two universes, the king and queen summoned all the gods from their respective palaces to a meeting there, where they would communicate something very important. Beyond the kings, only the gods of the council and the bearers of soul knew what it was about. When they got there, the king and queen, after a long time talking to each other to discuss what they would say, they spoke together to the assembly, and they spoke the following. We have reason to believe that the gods are creating pairs, being two for each function. Ye know Olus and Avila, they are the gods of the council respectively of the Mobla and Mobda universe. Met after discovering the door between the two universes, as ye know, they are soulmates and perform their role much better, the two together, and are happy just as they are praised in the two universes. We, lying down, realize that we are soulmates, just as we believe yet you have. And none of the universe is there a planet like the other. Besides, this world of soul is the same for both universes, that's why the encounter is here. What's more, Avila and Olus can hear the callings even for in the other universe. Thus we conclude that Mobda and Mobla are the same universe, that they have been divided by some interest of the ancestral gods which we do not share. If ye agree, we will do our best to bring together Mobda and Mobla in the same universe. And the gods present, agreeing and attesting to the veracity of the facts, respond. Yes, not only do we agree, but it was also our desire to work in pairs, because we identify our soulmates. And they all agreed that it would be up to the council gods, Olus and Avila, to figure out how to do such a thing. But they were trusted by all the gods present in the both universe. And so decided, Olus and Avila began to devote part of their time together to try to solve this case. Chapter 13. The Solution. Olus and Avila had met many times over a long time, hypothesizing the cause of the division of the universe into two. Since they believed that the answer to reunite them was to reverse what caused the separation. Each proposed his idea, the two discussed their validity together. They did all together, they were now inseparable, as a single soul formed by the union of the two souls in a kind of marriage of their souls. And thus full union, they knew there was reality for them. By giving the nature as God of the council, they believed that they were the only gods capable of realizing such a synchronized union and true love. In fact, they were the only gods who believed in the fantasy called love. In fact, it was not that the gods did not believe, but found themselves unable to feel such a feeling because they thought the love was related to passion, as it did with the beings of the planets. The gods, given their function and moral elevation, were not subject to the feelings, even Olus and Avila. The gods, given their function and moral elevation, were not subject to the feelings of passion. Even Olus and Avila were unable to feel such a feeling. But given their nature as God of the council, they believed that love between gods could only be like theirs for each other, totally disinterested, only by worrying about each other's well-being, completing each other by being turned with each other, helping each other, and making each other's life more joyful and complete. Thus they define love as the feeling of brotherhood and complete devotion from one to the other, without any desire or dirty feelings, for such feelings were proper to the beings to whom the gods help, and the gods evolve morally to understand the true meaning of loving someone. Coincidentally, if a god or something from a universe were masculine, Its function in the other universe was decided by the family gods and vice versa, which corroborate the theory of the peer gods and the two universes being one in the distant past. So they came to the solution, and from it they reached the cause. The cause. The solution would be themselves, always and ever, because their love for each other was beyond the universe or each of them. It was so strong that even though the universe was separated, they felt driven to meet and long for each other. The most important day of their life was when they first met in the throne room. They were the only ones in the two universes who had the courage to enter there, which changed much for the better the two universes. Thus they conclude that what caused the separation was a divorce between the peer gods. That is, one of them began to think better than the other and eventually divide the universe by hitting the door in the throne room and encouraged no one to enter. After the death of this ancient god, their successors knew nothing. Knowing what happened came to think it was normal to work only, because they did not work only or work alone, because they did not know the past and the throne room became an object of fantasy and story. So they decided that they would, one on either side of the door, touching each of their two hands against each other, use their bond to connect the universe. Chapter 14. The Union of the Universe. Mob Dalai resurfaces. So on the agreed day, each of the throne room of his universe, and with each of the gods in communion of false and objectified the same as them, who gave them a strength spirituality. The only ones who entered the throne room were Alus and Avla. There was still a certain fear on the part of the gods about the room. As they laid their hands as planned, each on their side of the door, the light of the room passed to them. In addition, the spiritual energy of the gods came to them. A strong light covered them so that they could see nothing, after which one of the throne rooms disappeared, as well as the door. Alus and Avla, still with their hands against each other, were in the same room now, and before they think the gods had disappeared, they observed change in the throne room. There were two thrones where once they were known. Besides, there was inscription that wasn't there before. By disjuncture, ye gods, ye have divided the universe, but for the sincere love of the gods of the council, which will go beyond the universe ye have divided, the mob Dalai universe will resurface as determined by the supreme creator and the father of the gods. When they left, they found all the gods in the same palace, and all their things in their respective chambers of the rest and work. They were shared by each pair of gods. We will do everything together. So beyond the conscious god pair, there was the pair of the king gods, lions, the pair of the gods of nature, the pair of past home gods, and so on. And his memory was unlocked, and they realized that at first there was only one throne room and one palace of the gods. When the universe was divided, there was a reproduction of the palace, and one of each pair went to a palace. And all of them, except Alus and Avla, were present in the division, having their memory blocked. That's why Alus and Avla were the only ones who could love each other and turn in as a pair. They also longed for each other to the point of entering the throne room, for they were new gods, they were not in the division. For it was machined by the previous god of the council who wanted to rule each one a universe, and to do so they deceived the gods. But the supreme creator, not in that plane, charged at the cost of the division the divinity of themselves, who were sent into the world of soul which could not be separated. And to replace them, he chose the noblest soul in the universe that exists before division, and have inhabited a planet to which the gods did not pay much attention. They were mortals who had lived for each other on their planet, showing true and disinterested love, as they now present as Alus and Avla. And by coincidence, they died together on the day of division, and by the work of the angel the Creator, who personally took their souls, formed each one to a palace as a god of the council. That it did not take them into the world of souls, and also erased the mortal wisdom from history, so that they all thought they were always god of the council. That is, there was exchange. The evil gods of the council went to the world of souls as mortals, and the virtuous mortals were raised to the god of the council, for they were destined to gather the universe and achieve brotherly love among the gods. Chapter 15. The Mob Dalai Universe. The Mob Dalai universe is composed of all the planets that made up the Mobda and Mobla universe. There is only one palace where the paragods perform their function in pairs, where they performed solitary before. Queen Lai and King Zan occupy the thrones who administer the gods, always taking into account the words of the gods of the council, Alus and Avla, who have come to be venerated as the greatest of the gods for their nobility, humility, simplicity, efficiency, and love with which they perform their functions. And also because they have been mortals before, and by their virtues not only became gods but also saved the Mob Dalai universe and the happiness of the gods who returned to love the peers also with a brotherly love. Yet not as much as Alus and Avla, because they were so much more morally elevated than their fellow gods. The planets Racha and Laurinia were at the same distance from the palace of God and continued to receive much of their attention, as they were still the least morally elevated and most dependent on the god. To celebrate the union of the universe, the gods decide to combine a kind of symbolic marriage between the gods of the council, Avala and Aulus, who loved the idea. Although they knew that they were representing insoluble union of the all paragods of the palace, not just their own. It was a way to symbolize that the universe will never be divided again. Chapter 16, The Marriage of Aulus and Avala. Marriage was a very simple thing, consisting basically of the same thing that brought the universe together. They drew a line between Aulus and Avala, symbolizing the throne room door, and each touching his hand to the other repeated the following sentence. I solemnly promise that I will not let myself be corrupt by divisions, and that I will never consider myself superior or inferior to my partner, both being equal and forming a single complete soul. The oath was repeated by each pair of gods, after which the line was erased and they embraced. In a distance, Avila saw in the palace the human Loa that she had helped, and always spotted the Laurino Loa near him. So the two of them went together to see what they were doing there. And when they got close, a light covered them, and they were no longer in the palace of the gods. They were in another much more resplendent palace, with a chorus of winged beings, trumpets, while Loa and Loa led them to the throne room of such palace. There Loa and Loa revealed that they were the supreme creator and the closest angel, and that these winged creatures were called angels. Just as the gods were carried by the beings of the planets, the angels were carried by the gods. Eva asked, why do ye two look like the beings of the planets? And they say, our true appearance and which of us is the supreme creator should not be revealing even to ye. However, ye have granted the right to know and visit us. We are responsible for make ye the gods of the council. The former were so corrupt that abusing their function of the council convinced the gods to separate the universe, and each intend to rule their own, subjugating not only the beings of the planets but the gods themselves. On the other hand, ye were mortal who exceed the gods in virtues. So we consent to the division, but at a price we take the divinity from the evil gods and give to ye, which resulted that they went to the world of souls, and each of ye to one palace. As ye have not been corrupted by your predecessor, ye are the only ones capable of feeling the link that should be exist among all the paragods, which ye have much greater, giving your moral elevation. So even separate, ye managed to maintain peace in the universe, and give the strength of the connection ye were able to find each other to return the universe to its original state, and eliminate blockade of the pairs of gods. So now return to your palace, and always remember that ye must continue to treat everyone equally, be he a god, a Laurino, a human, or whoever. Ye never know who the highest morally. Ye were simple creatures of the planets, and today ye are the most revered and noble gods in the universe, providing that the nobility of the soul does not depend on its origin. And who knows, in the future ye may be here as angel in the palace supreme creator. After that they see themselves again in the palace of the gods, and the companions say that there was no second past, and there was no human or Laurino there. Only Olus and Lavra could see them. It was the wedding gift. Chapter 17, The End. After all this, and with some time, the Mobdala universe enjoyed unique prosperity. The Laurinos and the Ratianos were no longer morally retarded, and no longer demanded so much attention from the gods, that they began to pay equal attention to all planets. All this was thanks to the reign of Lai and Zal and their advice of Aulus and Avala, and the confidence they inspired in the pure god. After a few centuries, the Supreme Creator called them to the palace, and offered them the opportunity to progress to angels and stay in his palace, who already knew the answer of the god of the council, which was followed. We are very honored by the offer, but we prefer to continue as god of the council because we are closer to those who need us. Thus the Creator began to invite them often to his palace, to instruct them in the wisdom necessary to exercise even better the office they love, to be the gods of the council. And every time they returned to the palace of God, no second had passed. Thus the influence of the Creator and the angels remained hidden. The universe ruled by the gods was prosperous and happy. There was a link of brotherly love between the gods, not only between the pairs, but between them all, and mainly by Aulus and Abla. But they are not so strong as the bond that the two have between them. For them it was possible to go beyond the limits of the universe and love themselves, even think that they belong to two different realities. So with the